Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. I have absolutely fabulous news for you. And this news that I have for you is about Pennsylvania. We still have problems. I'm going to talk about Georgia, where thanks to our friends over at Just the News, they found 20 more people who are non-citizens that were on the voter rolls, and you will not believe how they managed to uncover these people were signed up to vote, now removed from the voter rolls. So we have our issues. But in Pennsylvania, a state that I'm always so concerned about, I don't understand people's voting patterns in Pennsylvania. It doesn't make any sense for them to be voting for a Democrat, as if it makes any sense in any state across the country, right? But especially Pennsylvania, that is so dependent on fracking and drilling and fossil fuels, from coal to oil and natural gas. All of it's so important. You think of the steel industry that's dependent on the car industry and all these things. How do you vote for Democrats? So here's the thing, this key battleground state, Pennsylvania, nearly 55,000 registered Pennsylvania Democrats have switched their party affiliation. 55,000, switching it to Republicans. Now, here's what's very interesting. When you look at total voter registrations in Pennsylvania, you're looking at 9,088,000 people registered to vote. In 2020, the number was 9,090,000. So we lost 2,000 registered voters, and 55,000 had switched their vote, or switched their party affiliation to Republican. This puts the momentum into the Republicans' favor. And there's another number that I want to talk about. This number may be even more important when we look at how much Joe Biden won by in 2020 versus what I believe President Trump will win by in 2024. For the first time, I can tell you, in my opinion, Pennsylvania is looking very, very good. We're going to talk about all of that on the program today. Folks, are you tired of the big box stores pushing mom and pops out of business? Are you tired of China supplying Amazon with all the products you use in your home? Are you tired of toxic chemicals invading your home as well, being pushed on us by the big box stores and, of course, Amazon? Well, there is a way to fight back against all of this. American-made products, all produced by a American-made company that has been around for literally decades, shipped straight to your door at prices that'll beat Amazon. No toxic chemicals in these products either. I'm talking about causanow.com/grant. This is the website I want you to go to. It is part of a buyer's club of patriots that are saying, you know what? We're taking market share away from China. We're taking market share away from Walmart and Target. And we're going to start buying products from patriots, fellow patriots. causanow.com/grant. Do what I did. Become a member. I've been with them for a couple years now. I've switched my whole house over to this. Deodorant, dish soap, all the cleaning supplies you could ever imagine. Window cleaner, you name it, household supplies, anything you need, they are going to have it. causanow.com/grant. Go there today. They'll get in touch with you. They'll tell you about it. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. causanow.com/grant. 2 weeks out now, if you can believe it. 2 weeks out until the election. This is crunch time. This is pedal to the metal time. And what happens? Kamala Harris takes a day off. How do you take a day off with 2 weeks before the election? And then I'm looking at MSNBC, and I see MSNBC says Trump is lazy and somehow that he's canceling events. I don't know any events that he's canceled. He had 3 events yesterday. He did a town hall or a rally that we covered on the Real America's Voice program for, I don't know, I think it was an hour and a half he gave a speech for. This man is the Energizer Bunny. And yet they want to paint this picture that somehow he doesn't have the stamina to keep going forward when it's Kamala Harris who is resting. Now, I believe the Harris campaign, if they're not in panic already, they should be in panic. I want to go all the way across the country now to Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania is a very important state. In fact, many believe that Pennsylvania could be the most important state of all Now, why am I talking about Pennsylvania today? When if you've been a long-time listener to this program, you know that I have never had faith in Pennsylvania voters. We won one time around. We lost the next time around. Before that, Romney lost against Obama. I don't understand why Pennsylvania voters are voting for Democrats. When you think about the steel industry that would supply the car industry, that would supply big business and the construction industry and all of that, why are they supporting Democrats? When you think about fracking and fossil fuels, natural gas, coal in Western Pennsylvania, why are you supporting Democrats? It makes no sense. Now you add in inner city crime in the big cities like Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. Makes no sense. Well, maybe Pennsylvania voters are catching on. 55,000 registered Pennsylvania Democrats have changed their party affiliation this year. This is new information that is just out. Now, this is important because as of now, there are 9,088,000 people registered to vote in the state of Pennsylvania. Last time around, there were 9,090,000. Lost 2,000 registered voters. But think about this. 55,000 of them switched their party affiliation to Republicans. All the while, Republicans are racking up registrations like you would not believe. So Biden won the state in 2020 by 1.17 percentage points. Okay? That year, Democrats had a larger margin of registered voters to their Republican counterparts, 4.2 million to 3.5 million. That's about $700,000 more registered Democrats in 2020 than in 2024. Excuse me. More registered Democrats, 700,000 in 2020. 2024, the number shows the Democrats' registrations have completely dwindled. The Democrat advantage over Republicans, okay, is now just 297,000 voters. So you go from 685,000 voters to 297,000 voters. The margin has totally flipped. You're now way less than you were by more than 50%. And consider this. You have party affiliations that are switching, and Joe Biden only won Pennsylvania by 80,000 votes last time around. By 80,000 votes last time around, they had a $85,000 people margin. Now the margin is down to just 300,000, 55,000 changing their registered votes. All of this to me says Pennsylvania is ripe for the taking from President Trump. They should be celebrating this data. Donald Trump knows that Pennsylvania is important. He's got 400 paid staffers in Pennsylvania right now, 50 offices across the state. In many respects, you could almost make an argument the entire race for the presidency comes down to Pennsylvania. Why do you think he was at a Steelers game? Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think in 2020, President Trump would have gotten the standing ovation that he got at a Pittsburgh Steelers game that he got this weekend? Would he have gotten that same standing ovation in 2020? I don't think he would have, which is why I'm telling you the tide is turning. All right? So I'm going to read from this story. The data is broken down by county, with Philadelphia notably reporting 18,928 Democrats changed their party affiliation compared to just 3,400 Republicans. So, yes, there were some Republicans that changed their party affiliation, but not nearly as many as Democrats. Bucks County, we know that's an important county. It just sits right outside Philadelphia. Reported 2,089 Democrats changed their party affiliation compared to 1,600 Republicans. Now, it's a margin of about, almost 500. But when you only won 80,000 and you're now taking 500 here, 500 there, Philadelphia, remember, they took 16,000 Now this is starting to add up to look very good for President Trump, and we haven't even talked about the change in political climate in America, where people are fed up with Joe Biden, people are fed up with Kamala Harris, people are fed up with all of the nonsense. How do I know they're fed up? Because you now have Joe Biden, who says, I'm not going to campaign with Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris said he's not going to campaign with me. And you have Biden coming out and saying things like this.
He is talking about doing away with the entire Department of Education. He's talking, he means it. This is not a joke. This is a guy who also wants to replace every civil servant, every single one. Thinks he has a right under the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if need be, if it was the case, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes to be a threat to him.
Wait. What? President Trump has never said he wants to shoot and kill any of his political enemies. Now, he does say he wants to fire civil servants that aren't doing their job, civil servants that are part of the deep state, civil service servants that have wrestled power away from elected officials, where elected leaders in America are supposed to run this country, not bureaucrats, not a ruling class of career bureaucrats. So, yeah, I mean, right now you're actually campaigning for Trump, Joe Biden.
I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up.
Politically, he says at the end. Lock him up politically. Well, you're going to start lock him up, Chance? Joe Biden, you got some nerve with everything going on between China, everything going on with all of your business deals, the Russian mayor's wife and the $1 million and all of the craziness. You send your son globe-trotting around the world to just hoard cash for you from all of these oligarchs and Russian mobsters. And you're talking about locking President Trump up when the real treasonous behavior is on behalf of Joe Biden. So that's why they're getting desperate here. Pennsylvania looking really, really good right now. And that makes me happy, which brings me to Georgia. So Georgia is another very important state. You would think Georgia would be perfect for us. I mean, how we lost Georgia the last time around, I can offer up. You go to look at people like Lynn Wood. Remember that guy's name? Who told people not to vote? Are you kidding me? I'm telling every one of you right now, I don't care what you think about the machines. I don't care what you think about mail-in ballots. You've got to go and vote. But here's how I know we still have problems. My buddy over at Just the News, John Solomon, he uncovered that 20 foreigners made it onto the voter rolls. Only 20, but it's not the number that matters. It's the fact that it happened that matters. If there's 20, you better believe there's a lot more. So this was an audit that was made public. This audit flagged another 156 enrolled voters as possible non-citizens that need to be investigated further. The non-citizens were removed, and they were removed from the voter rolls. You want to know how they detected this? This is unbelievable. So this group went out there and they took juror affidavits, where you get called in for jury duty and you check the box, I'm not a citizen of the United States. Well, they combined the juror information with the voter roll information. And if you said you're not a citizen to be a juror, well, then you certainly can't be a citizen to vote. You can't have that both ways. Bing, bang, boom. They nailed them. Now, here's the biggest problem with all of this. You now have 20 that we know about, another 156 that they've flagged. How many are there? And how many are there not just in Georgia, but how many are there in Pennsylvania? How many are there in Texas? How many are there in Arizona? How many are there in Wisconsin? You know, and the reason I brought up Texas is because Ted Cruz is now in the fight for his life. The polling shows him and Colin Allred, a radical leftist, tied. I don't believe it, though, by the way. I really don't. Texas is setting up very red, just as California sets up very, very blue. There's a number of very important congressional races in California. I heard about this guy Gunderson, I think his name is. He's like 7 points down from a Democrat, or almost tied with this Democrat that's a +7 Democrat seat here in California. All this stuff matters, though, because if they cheat in California, they're going to take back the House. If they cheat in Texas, could you imagine they take back the United States Senate? If they cheat in Pennsylvania or Georgia or Michigan, they take back the White House. This is frightening, frightening stuff, folks. It really is. Folks, so you want to be in Bitcoin, but the wild swings, the volatility scares the crap out of you. I don't blame you. So you know what I've done? I get monthly returns now, literal cash flow, being in Bitcoin, but only in mining. So the secret to success when it comes to Bitcoin is in the mining. And this is what Get21Now.com does. It's a company called NFN8. I'm involved with them. I've already started getting my checks. This is institutionalized giant warehouses of these servers. This is an impressive operation. They've been doing this for a long time. I've vetted them. I've talked to them. I want you to talk to them too. I used to buy businesses, right? I'd have to deal with employees and angry customers and paying bills and all of the headaches that come along with that. Folks, I get 21% now on my money, paid monthly. This is cash flow, baby. And look, NASDAQ is already trading Bitcoin as a commodity. This is real stuff. The future is now. Get21now.com. You want to have cash flow, monthly payments, talk to these guys, all right? Talk to them. They've promised stuff to me, and they have lived up to every promise they have made to me. Get21now.com. Get21now.com. Pay them a visit today and tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, so when we look at Democrat cheating, it doesn't just happen at the polls. I want you to be very, very clear on this. Democrat cheating also happens when it comes to donations, when it comes to foreign money. Now, there's a number of investigations that are unfolding as we speak, looking at foreign money coming into the Democrats through the platform Act Blue. Now, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, who's probably one of the greatest attorney generals in the country, has conducted an investigation that was uncovered by my friends over at Just the News. And they believe that this nonprofit fundraising platform and political action committee, Act Blue, established in 2004 to support Democrat campaigns, has been engaging in what I would describe only as a money laundering scheme to move illegal donations into Democrat coffers. Now, first, we talked about this. I think we talked about it here last week. There was a Republican strategist in Michigan who gets an email, "Thank you for your donation to the Democrat Party." And he's saying, "What? I'm a Republican strategist. I'm a Republican strategist. I don't donate to a Democrat Party." Well, it turns out an email address he used a long time ago to sign up for Democrat email lists as a strategist was used, which means somebody amongst the Democrats got this email. They use his name, likeness, and email to offer up donations that he never did in his name. Well, that gets around how you funnel money into a political party without having to deal with the campaign limits. What is it, $2,800 now a person for a federal election? Now, if you're using straw men, you get around that. So this investigation by Paxton's office reveals a number of suspicious donations linked to obscured identities and untraceable payment methods. So now the Attorney General has filed a petition to the Federal Election Commission for immediate regulatory action to address any potential loopholes that could jeopardize the election's integrity. And he believes this is happening with prepaid debit cards. Now, why does this matter? Yes, the investigation comes out of Texas, but this isn't just happening in Texas. This is happening across the country as they funnel what could be millions and millions of dollars. Now, We believe that some suspicious activity reports have been filed when it comes to this. Members of Congress are looking at this as well. So in response to in August of 2024, which is just, a couple months ago, in response to this ongoing investigation, Act Blue announced it would require donors using credit cards to provide CVV codes, you know those little 3-digit numbers? Act Blue was not requiring that. Now, folks, when have you ever gone online, used a credit card, and not been required to give the 3-digit number? Now, by using the CVV codes, that is a step towards security, but I believe it is totally insufficient to tackle the problems that are going on here. So this petition of the FCC says the commission needs to implement stricter regulations to close these fundraising loopholes that could allow illegal funneling of money to certain political campaigns, a.k.a. the Harris campaign. Who else are they going to be funding it to? So Act Blue has always opposed regulatory measures to do this. Now, what do Democrats do? They oppose everything that's going to rein in their cheating. Democrats oppose voter ID. That'll rein in cheating. Democrats oppose hand counting of ballots. We just saw in Georgia a big win for Democrats. A federal judge threw out a mandate to hand count ballots in counties in Georgia. They oppose that. Why do they oppose everything that would stop cheating from happening? You got to prove you're an American citizen to vote. This is I call it a great idea, but how is this an idea? Proving you're an American citizen to vote is what needs to happen. So now you've got the Democrats opposing everything that would rein in the cheating, and we keep exposing more and more cheating by the day. Now, it's important we remember the reason they need to cheat, they are bleeding black men. Black men are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. They're tired of it. They're fed up with it. And if you are one of those people who have left the Democrat Party, please call me, 855-785-8255. 855-785-8255 is the number to weigh in. So because they're bleeding black men, they dispatch Barack Obama to talk about all of this. Listen.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly.
No, I do mind. I'd rather you not. Now, Dan, the phone man, you said MSNBC went into a barbershop.
Yeah, they did in Pennsylvania.
They did in Pennsylvania. Do you have that sound?
I do. Hang on just a moment here. Yeah, here we go.
And I just wonder for anybody who heard that, like what they thought of that.
I was deeply offended. And it felt like a moment where it's like, you N-words better get in line and do what we say. And it felt like him as the czar of the Democratic Party coming down to say, go get these N-words in line. And the general tone of it was disgusting. It was abhorrent. I don't respect it. I didn't like nothing about it. And Kamala, 2 days after that, is like, we love our black men. We have programs and things that we're rolling out for them, and she rolled out policy.
Good cop, bad cop. You know, because
I'm tired of the good cop, bad cop. I'm tired of it.
I love this. Folks, that's on MSNBC. They allow that to even be aired. How they allow it to be aired on MSNBC, I have no idea. You got a barbershop full of black men who all appear to be agreeing with this guy. And I'm going to tell you, every time I talk to a black man about this, I get the same response. They're tired of the Democrat Party. I remember in 2016 and again in 2020, I would tread lightly with people of color about President Trump. Doesn't mean I didn't talk to him. I most certainly did. But I would ease my way into the conversation very gently. Do you know what's crazy now? I feel like this whole "you're a white man racist for voting for Trump" thing is gone, at least when it comes to black men. I don't think they feel this way anymore. Dan, real quick. Dan the black man, a.k.a. Dan the phone man.
Yeah.
Do you see the same thing among your black friends, that it's not as prevalent, this "you must be racist voting for Trump"?
Yeah, I think seeing what's happened the last 4 years has kind of opened everybody's eyes to, like, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit more to this. You know, when you live through it, suddenly it makes a lot more sense. And that the things he's saying, a lot of times he's been on point, so it's kind of hard to argue with it.
All right, so that's the reason why now they need to cheat more than ever before, which if you thought the cheating was bad in 2020, wait until you see what they're going to try to do this time around. The question then becomes, are we ready for it? The sad reality is I don't think we are, but swamping the vote is what really needs to happen, and I think we're at a point where that can happen, and President Trump still wins. Well, folks, I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. You know, I have a Patriot Mobile phone. I'm so happy with it. Patriot Mobile is all about supporting the programs, causes, charities that believe in the things we believe in. Why would you be giving money to the big three woke cell phone companies that literally practice DEI policies inside their corporate structure? They literally fund places like Planned Parenthood, when you could be with Patriot Mobile, that's supporting our veterans, that's protecting our gun rights, that is literally taking the fight when it comes to free speech to the left, putting "In God We Trust" signs in schools. And for this, the media comes after them so hard. Patriot Mobile. I urge you to get a Patriot Mobile phone. Hey, I got a Patriot One plan. One phone, two lines, two different networks. So in an emergency, one network's down, I got it covered. PatriotMobile.com/grant. PatriotMobile.com/grant. That's where I want you to go. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. And I promise you, you are not going to regret it. You can call them at 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. And you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. I want to talk a little bit about Rudy Giuliani. If you can believe it, poor Rudy is now got to basically liquidate everything. You know, when you think about the war on their political enemies coming from those on the Democrat side of things, you don't have to look any further than anybody that surrounded President Trump. Clearly, we know the war that they are waging on him. Then you look at a guy like Rudy Giuliani, who was one of President Trump's closest confidants. You look at Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is supposed to get out a week from now. Do you know Steve Bannon, host of War Room? He shares a seat with me on Rav. Steve Bannon is supposed to get out a week from now. There's indications that the rules would have allowed him to get out early, but the Biden administration did not allow him to get out before next week, when he clearly could have because of some new rules. And they said, nope, we're keeping you here. That's wrong. What did he do? He didn't do anything. He was literally living up to the standards of the law, and a bogus, crooked court convicted him, just as they got Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, former confidant, well, still confidant of President Trump. So listen to what they're taking from him. You may remember those two Georgia election workers. They were accused of, I don't know, stuffing the vote counters, pulling out stuff underneath the tables or whatever, and it looked like there was no evidence that they did any wrongdoing or anything like that. But sure as heck, the video didn't paint that picture early on. The investigation needed to unfold. It looks like they were in the clear, but that was before Rudy Giuliani had come out and called into question these two women. Those two women sued Rudy Giuliani and won a $148 million defamation judgment against him. $148 million. Now, I don't care how rich you are, that one stings. Now, Rudy Giuliani was a very, very wealthy guy. Rudy Giuliani, I will tell you this, was about as successful as it possibly gets. And so now what you have is them wiping him out financially. If they can't kill him like they tried to do to President Trump, they can't kill him like they do to President Trump. They try to do. They'll wipe him out financially. So the district judge in Manhattan said Giuliani does not have to give the election workers 3 New York Yankees World Series rings or his Florida condominium for now, noting that those assets are tied up in other litigation. So he gets to keep his Florida condo and his World Series rings. But look what he has to give up. His New York City apartment, valued at about $5 million, 24 luxury watches. He's got a 1980 Mercedes, once owned by movie star Lauren Bacall. He's got to give that up. But that Mercedes is valued only at about $25,000 or $30,000. Those 19, I bet you it's a little SL convertible. They're cool cars. I want one. My very special lady friend says she hates classic cars. How do you hate classic cars? Babe, if you're listening, they're classics. That's why they call them the classics. And you're dating a classic. And a classic like me ought to be in a classic car, including one of these 1986 $6 million man Mercedes. I'd love it. Maybe I'll buy it from Giuliani. How cool would that be to have Giuliani's? I'll let him borrow it. Sure, I would. All right, so anyway, he's got to give that stuff up. He's got to give up his interest in about $2 million that Trump's 2020 presidential campaign owes him for his services. So is this right? The Trump 2020 campaign still owes him $2 million for his services. He's got to give that up. Also on the list of his assets must be given are the 1980 Mercedes-Benz SL 500. Oh, there you go. It is an SL. A shirt and picture signed respectively by Yankees legends Joe DiMaggio and Reggie Jackson. Now, I have signed Yankee photos. A lot of them. My entire wall of my office at home is filled with Yankee photos. I told you I'm a big Yankee fan, and I can't wait for this World Series to start. But that's not worth a lot of money. I mean, I don't know. A Joe DiMaggio signed $500, maybe. Reggie Jackson, same thing. $500-$600. I think you could secure that. Maybe Joe DiMaggio's a little bit more than that. I've got one. It's not pushing $1,000, so you're not looking at a lot of money there. He's got a signed Yankee Stadium picture, a diamond ring, costume jewelry, 26 watches, including a Rolex. And here's the one: 5 Shinolas. Shinolas, those aren't expensive watches. 2 Bulivas and a Tiffany & Company watch. Got to give it all. They're not going to leave this guy with anything. Again, the documents say the Mercedes is valued at $25,000. The World Series rings and costume jewelry about $30,000. One of those watches was given to Giuliani by his grandfather, and he asked if he'd be allowed to keep it because of sentimental value. But the judge rejected that request. He said he could prove that it was worth less than $1,000, but he was not able to do so, according to the judge. Quote, the judge says, however painful the circumstance, a party cannot claim that every family heirloom should be exempt. The judge wrote that Giuliani's surrendering of the assets to Freeman and Moss, those are the 2 ladies, would ensure that the liquidation of the transferred assets is accomplished quickly and consistently by the plaintiff's chosen counsel, maximizing the sale of value and unique and intangible items, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? The bottom line is they will go after you. They will bust you. You know, I get asked a lot, Grant, would you ever go to work for the Trump administration? Would you go work for him? Would you go? Sometimes people say, would you be his press secretary? Now, I will tell you this, that I've talked to people in the campaign. He's going to have a smoking hot smoke show of a press secretary. That's what Trump's going to do. So that job's not going to be open. But the reality is, if you were asked to go to work for the administration, you almost have to say yes, because it is service to your country. The commander-in-chief is asking for your help. You'd have to say yes. But here, I'm going to tell you something. You got to really be worried about going to jail. You got to really be worried about them bankrupting you. This is why it's going to be so hard for President Trump to get good people to go to work for him, because of what they do to people like Rudy Giuliani and Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon and so many others. Go all the way back to George Papadopoulos. Remember him, who got caught up in the whole Russian collusion hoax? They ruined this guy. So as you look at all of this, President Trump's going to have a hard time finding. You're going to have real, bold people. But here's maybe the benefit of this. I always try to look for a silver lining. Do I? I don't know. Jen Horn may dispute that claim that I'm always looking for a silver lining. But if I look for a silver lining, when President Trump gets someone to sign up to go to work for him, that guy, that gal is going to be a fighter. They are not going to care. They're going to have grit and stamina and boldness and intestinal fortitude like you wouldn't believe, because they're taking a job knowing that every aspect of the deep state will be coming after them. Now, is that where we want our country to be? The only way we turn that around is by getting Trump back in office. The only way we turn it around is by rooting the deep state out. The only way we turn it around is by ensuring that the people of the United States actually matter, and it's become a government by and for the people, not by and for a ruling class of career bureaucrats, which it is right now, led by Barack Obama, the Clintons, the Soroses, and I guess I don't even throw in the Bidens, but if you want to, have at it. Doesn't really matter. It's all the same deal. All right, does anybody notice a difference with me? I've lost now, yes, if you can believe it, 12 pounds in just 3.5 weeks on the Energized Health program. The secret is in the science, but it's also in the simplicity. I am not killing myself with workouts. Yes, I work out with weights, and I always had, but I've added in a very small workout to this program. Super easy. I have a diet plan now. I am never hungry. I don't feel like I'm struggling through this diet. It is super simple. And I'm getting myself hydrated. It is all about cellular hydration, and the results you can achieve are absolutely astonishing. And I'm telling you firsthand, folks, I got involved with them. They came to me and said, hey, we want you to try this out. I said, okay, I could tighten things up a little bit, and bing, bang, boom, I'm on track, man. And I credit energizedhealth.com/grant, energizedhealth.com/grant. There's coaching involved in this. There's recipes involved in this. The plan is all laid out for you. And again, it is super simple. This is life-changing, mind, body, soul. It's a total body transformation. God bless the folks at Energized Health who are helping me. energizedhealth.com/grant. Check them out today.
For millions and millions of working American families, this is a phenomenal thing, if I do say so myself.
Oh, you gotta love President Trump. I mean, here he is coming out, and he's saying, you know what? No interest. You can tax it. Well, you'll have interest, but you can deduct the interest payments on your American-made car from your taxes. You got me? You can deduct your interest payments from your taxes on your American-made car. Mr. President, this idea is 100% brilliant. Brilliant. So he has come out with a whole slew of ideas that are brilliant. He came out with this idea as well that there's going to be a fund if President Trump gets his way. There'll be a fund that illegal aliens will, if they hurt you, harm a loved one, you'll get reparations. Democrats want to talk about reparations. How about reparations for Biden-Harris illegal alien crime? Brilliant idea. It's going to create a government fund. If, God forbid, you have a loved one that is injured or killed by an illegal alien, they're going to create a fund for this. Stand down the phone, man. Do we have that soundbite? All right, so they're going to create a fund for this. Just give me the thumbs up when you got it. This is an unbelievably brilliant idea. President Trump talked about it.
Some people are beginning to talk about
it. President Trump talked about it yesterday, and he related it to the paperclip. Even he said, this is an unbelievable idea. He said, it's like the paperclip. 100 and something years ago, somebody invents the paperclip. Why did I think of this? So here we go, President Trump.
Are you open? Some people are beginning to talk about the notion of creating a government fund to help people who've been victimized by crime from illegal aliens that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris brought into the country. Are you open to such a notion?
I am. It's the first I'm hearing about it, but it was talked about, and then I guess people shut it down. But I really am. These people are being. I've met so many of the families. They've been just decimated by these people that are allowed to come into our country. They're murderers and drug dealers, and the worst people are allowed to come into our country, and they're poisoning our country. They're poisoning. What Biden and Kamala have done to this country is unthinkable that this could be.
Think about how many people have been killed or injured by illegal aliens brought into this country by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. 14 million illegals over the last 4 years. 14 million of them. I actually believe when you add the gotaways into it, the unknown gotaways into it, you're looking at over 20 million people. That is a number that is insane. It has been devastating to this nation. I would throw in, if an illegal alien sells you fentanyl that kills you, you should be part of this fund as well. And this is a great idea by the president. All of this is about moving the country forward, putting not just America first, but Americans first. Now, that was my buddy John Solomon on the Real America's Voice Just the News show right before mine. I was on with John as he was running that interview. President Trump also comes up with the idea of which one is it, Dan, that you have there?
We have the gain of function one and the car one from his speech there.
You do. Okay, so the gain of function, a ban on mRNA. Okay, ban on mRNA. He made so much news with John Solomon. He says we're going to create a fund for illegal alien crime if you're a victim of it. Now you're going to ban mRNA. Roll that one.
If you're president, do you consider an executive order saying no more gain of function research?
I think that's something we would certainly discuss. I tell you what, I was the one that shut it down. They were paying money to China.
Yeah,
now,
that's right.
I shut it down just saying, why are we paying money to China? Who would have known that they were doing Wuhan? Yeah. But I did say Wuhan, that's where it came from. I had no doubt about that. You know, they were trying to say it came from France, it came from Italy, or it came from caves with bats. No, I've always felt it came from Wuhan. Now that's been determined.
Well, so there you go. Going to ban gain of function research. Now this poses a little bit of a problem because if our enemies are engaging in gain of function research and we're behind the 8 ball on it, that puts us in a precarious position. But the reality is I don't trust anybody in government to be conducting gain of function research, that they won't use it on American citizens. How sad is that we're at a point where we don't trust our own government to use gain of function research against our own citizens? So he says he would consider issuing an executive order to ban that. And then last night, I guess it was either at the rally or a speech. He did it in 2 places. He talked about about being tax deductible for the interest on your new car note, providing the car was built in the United States.
Today, I am also announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible. So a man a lot of you people are in the car industry. Actually, I met a lot of them backstage. What do you do? I'm in the car industry. But a lot of them, and I told him about it. He's a very knowledgeable person. He said, here's a guy, he's done it all his life. He's sitting right over there. I don't want to embarrass him. But he said, where did you come up with that idea? That's the coolest thing. It's like the paperclip again, right? It's like the paperclip. Somebody comes up with the paperclip and everybody says, why the hell didn't I think of that, right?
I'm glad you got the paperclip comment. It's so great. It's so classic President Trump. I should have thought of the paperclip. Could you imagine if all of us would have thought of things like the paperclip or the zip tie or Scotch tape? I mean, all of these things. Tissue paper. Wow, millionaires. All right, so I wonder if this will filter down to motorcycles made in the United States. What about motorcycles? Did you hear the situation with Harley Davidson? Harley Davidson recalls 56,000 bikes. Why? Apparently the fuel cable's rubbing up against the engine. And you know what all this gets back to? DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many people are now saying that Harley Davidson's quest for DEI initiatives, the quality of the bike is totally suffering. You got a lot of bikers now switching over to Indian. They killed Harley, all right? And many bikers will tell you it breaks their heart. They killed Harley Davidson. This recall involves 16,000 motorcycles, mainly the 2022 FXRST models. I'm not a Harley guy, so I couldn't tell you what kind of bike that is. But this is a big deal. Now, you may remember, it came out national news that Harley Davidson, of all companies, was going down this DEI push. They were having LGBTQ events and all kinds of nonsensical diversity crap. And people said, you know what, enough is enough. Well, Harley Davidson comes out and says, you know what, we're going to back off this. Their statement was very, very simple. Quote, this is in a statement shared on X by Harley Davidson about all of the pushback by us, and I'm proud of all of you for this. Harley Davidson says, quote, we are disheartened by the negativity on social media in recent weeks, which aims to divide the Harley Davidson community. Here's the but. Moving forward, we will focus exclusively on growing the sport of motorcycling. That's all anybody wants. Grow the sport of motorcycling. Just improve the craft of brewing beer. But don't engage in LGBTQ alphabet city mania. All right? Now, what if I told you FEMA's got the same thing going on? They do. FEMA, their whole method is DEI stuff, which is why they're suffering. I'm going to ask you a question, folks. Do you have an emergency medical kit from the wellness company with all of the antibiotics, antiparasitics, antivirals that you need? I have multiple kits. I've refilled some of these kits. Speed of delivery when it comes to getting medications into your body during a time of need is critical. Check this thing out. I mean, how cool is this? Amoxicillin in here. A Z-Pack is in here. Oh, by the way, ivermectin is in here, right? So you come down with COVID, you start popping that. They got a handy-dandy little guidebook as well that will help you through the use of all of this. This is the guidebook. It works great. Folks, you got to have one of these kits. You should have ammunition, water, food, but you need prescription medications as well. The Wellness Company can help you with that. TWC.health/grant. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off, and I promise you, you will not regret having this. The only thing you'll regret is not having it when you need it. TWC.health/grant. Get one today. Use that promo code GRANT. So what do you think about FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency? How are they doing out there? They doing great? Oh, they got you $750 for a hurricane. You lose your whole house, but don't worry. It won't even get you half a ticket to the Dodgers-Yankees game. And that's upper deck, okay? $750 is what they give you. Why? I believe they're out of money. Mayorkas says, oh, we got just enough money to handle North Carolina and Florida, but if another hurricane hits, we're out of money. Why? Because they are so focused on taking care of illegals. Now, there's a report out by Center Square, and it's pretty unbelievable. They use the Freedom of Information law to go in and get internal documents from FEMA. Now, the agency's name is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. I would ask you, what do you think your number one goal would be? If we were going to write a list of goals for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, I would put at the top of the list, take care of American citizens during times of natural disaster. I think that would be a fair assessment. Maybe even if it wasn't natural disaster, maybe just take care of American citizens during times of disaster. Fair enough? What if I told you that they had 3 ambitious goals for FEMA readiness? Okay. I would put a goal would be respond quickly during times of chaos to meet the needs of Americans. Does that sound good? I think that sounds like a great goal. You want to hear the goals that FEMA has? This is literally directly from their internal documents. These are the goals and objectives laid out in a plan that will help ensure success for our agency, emergency management community, and those we serve. Well, first off, those you serve ought to be the first ones because it's American citizens. You ought to put your customers first. And in this case, when government talks about who their customers are, that's the citizens. Goal number 1, I've teased you long enough. Instill equity as a foundation of emergency management. What? Equity? Equity is equal outcomes for everyone. Now, I want everyone to be taken care of, but that's not even what they mean here, because they go on to talk about making sure that when they respond with more fervor to minority communities who may have a harder time dealing with things. It shouldn't be decided on who has the more money. Just respond and help everybody to the best of your freaking ability. That's what the emergency management agency should be doing. But here's goal number 2. Not respond quickly to disaster. It's lead whole of community in climate resilience. Hold on a second. So a tornado hits my community in, say I'm living in Texas, and I got the power wiped out and the house is knocked down, and your number 2 goal is lead a whole of community of climate resilience. I don't really give a rat's you-know-what about climate resilience at the time. I want my home rebuilt. I want to make sure I got food and water for my family. I need power so I'm safe and secure at night. What are you talking about? And here's the 3rd goal. Promote and sustain a ready, FEMA, and prepared nation. Now, if anything, that goal's fine. Promote and sustain a ready FEMA and a prepared nation. Of these 3 goals, that probably fits in number 3, because I would say that, being ready to act in a moment's notice to help American citizens should be up there at the top. But you could move number 3 to 1, promote and sustain a ready FEMA and prepared nation. But this climate resilience, instill a foundation of equity? This is nonsense. So diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be optional, they write in this report. They must be core components of how the agency conducts itself internally and executes its mission. I'm going to tell you right now that if you're coming to bring me pallets of water to my community, I could care less whether the manager of that crew is black or white. I could care less whether the manager of the truck who's unloading the water in my community is gay, trans, straight, Hispanic, blue or yellow. I don't care. Just give me the water. Why does this have anything to do with executing a mission that you want a lot of gay and minority people? Well, you might as well just be gay and a minority, and you hit 2 boxes at one shot for FEMA. FEMA makes it clear in their plan that equity, which includes racial identity, will be taken into consideration when distributing aid, highlighting that there should be equitable and fair distribution of assistance to all those affected, especially the disproportionately impacted. Now, why is someone's life worth more or less than someone else's? I don't think a rich person's life is worth more than a poor person's life. I don't think a poor person's life is worth more than a rich person's life. In fact, I like equal views of Americans' lives. Okay? Equal. Not equitable, equal. Equal opportunity for everyone. Now, if government's responding, you're not supposed to take into account how much money somebody has or how much this. It should just be simply based off of need. What do we do for you to get you the basic necessities of life so you can survive? I don't care if you're a multimillionaire. If there's no food and water in your town, you're going to need it just as much as the poor black person next to you. Is this so? And I'm really curious. If you're a super rich black guy, I bet you're totally screwed. I bet you're looked at as even hated more than the totally rich white guy in the eyes of FEMA talking about all of this stuff. It's just a guess. So FEMA's drift to focus on all of this DEI stuff happened, of course, under the Biden administration. It's always been a battle. President Trump tried to rein it in, but it's been a battle. And now you look at how much money they spent on illegal aliens, $640 million in new funding to illegals. $300 million was helping these, quote, migrants settle in the United States. $340 million set aside as grants. You don't think that money could be used for FEMA to respond to emergencies? Well, they'll say the invasion, but they won't call it an invasion. They'll say that all of these people coming across our border is an emergency. But it's an emergency you created. They created the emergency. So now we're in a situation beyond this, by the way. I was talking with my buddy Oscar Blue Ramirez, Real America's Voice correspondent, who is our border correspondent. Have you seen the video? Go to my Instagram, Stinchfield1776. There are at least 3 caravans now, thousands of people large, each one. What Oscar is being told is that there's a mad rush for the border by November 5th. You want a clue that President Trump is going to win this election? It's that the illegals, the cartels, are now flooding the border with illegals because they know after January 20th, it all shuts down. So they are now flooding it. Here's what happened. The CBP One app, this Customs Border Protection app that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden concocted to allow people to come in legally simply by putting in a fake name and email address. They're tired of waiting. They don't want to wait for their appointment. That's what happens. The appointment could take hours, could take a couple days, but they get an appointment and then they flood them through these illegal ports of entry. They don't want to wait. So now the fear is they're just going to bum rush the border. You should see these caravans. The mainstream media is not covering it. Now, is that an emergency that FEMA needs to respond to? I don't think it is. That's an emergency created by our own administration. Now we're wasting money to respond to an emergency that we created. Are you kidding me? We cannot get President Trump in soon enough. You know, I said that 4 years ago, and I can't believe that 4 years is upon us. 2 weeks from today, folks. 2 weeks from today. Looking at all of this, I mean, here's another example of FEMA's broader focus. The New York Post reported that a video call roundtable from last year included FEMA diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders. During the event, it was called, you ready for this? Helping LGBTQIA survivors before disasters. What? So we're just helping the gay community before disasters? Why aren't we preparing straight people and families and all this? Why aren't we just preparing everyone? One federal employee discussed shifting FEMA's mission from serving the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to focusing more on disaster equity. Our nation has gone off the deep end. Our government has gone off the deep end. We are at a point where there may be no return here pretty soon. It's quite frightening, folks. It really is. That, folks, is going to do it for us right here on Stinchfield, the podcast. I'm so grateful for you watching. Don't forget, Stinchfield1776 is the social media platform on just about every social media platform. Please give me a follow there. Make sure you like the podcast. Make sure you share the podcast. Make sure you spread the word to all your friends. And again, I think early voting has started in almost every state across the country now, as we are officially 2 weeks from Election Day. So I believe today is the day I'm going to vote in Texas. I wanted to go with my very special lady friend. She's had a busy day yesterday. This is why I say you go vote early, because people get busy and then it gets pushed back. So I think today or tomorrow is the day I'm going to vote. I want you out there. I want you bringing somebody with you. In my case, I'm bringing my very special lady friend to vote. Now, Texas had long lines on the first day of early voting. That's good news. Most of these states are seeing long lines and record turnout. I believe that is indicative of a Trump victory. Kamala Harris isn't getting people off the couch to crawl over coals to vote for her. President Trump is. People are hungry for change, or people are hungry to get back to the way it was under President Trump. TrumpForce47.com. You can help out there. You can send text messages from your own home, from your own cell phone. Please do your part, as this election is so very, very important. I'm grateful to all of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls because of you. We will see you back here real soon.